Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss pre-Socratic philosophers with UGC NET MCQs. This video is definitely going to help for your exam, so let's get started. So let's see who were the pre-Socratic philosophers. So the pre-Socratic philosophers were men who lived in and around Greece during 5th and 6th centuries BCE. The pre-Socratic invented the idea of nature as a natural place as a collection of objects. These objects operated according to predictable pattern that could be discovered by human investigation. In this way, they set the stage for an understanding of the world that is one of the central defining features of Western culture. We now call this way of understanding science, then it was called as philosophy. So now let's see about the Milesians. So the first known philosopher of ancient Greece were from the city-state called Miletus, located on the west coast of what is known as Peninsula of Turkey, then called as Anatolia. Miletus was a thriving seaport and part of a region of cities called Ionia. As a hub of sea trade, the residents of Miletus were in contact with surrounding cultures and, as such, were influenced by many of their wives, particularly theories of astronomy that came from civilization to the east of Greece. The three first philosophers from Miletus were Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes, all of whom attempted to answer the question, what is the common stuff from which everything is composed? Now we will first see about Thales, who believe that water as a fundamental thing that is composed in everything in the world. So, as the earliest pre-Socratic philosopher, he usually credited with being the first philosopher in the West. So he was the first philosopher in the West, and he said that everything is water. Physical things that take the form of either a solid or a liquid or a gas. Since water can assume all of these forms, it is not possible that everything is a form of water. Now we'll see the next point, what he says about it. So water is also essential for life, as we all know that without water we cannot live. So in fact, it appears to be the most abundant thing in existence, especially if you live on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, as Thales did, and believe that the earth itself is floated on giant body of water. He created a word that is cosmos, the first word to describe the universe. He contributed to geometry and predicted that eclipse of 585 BC. Now, another important aspect of Thales' philosophy is his claim that everything is full of God. And what he meant by that is again a matter of interpretation that could be from a theistic view to an atheistic one. But the one plausible explanation suggested by Aristotle is that Thales advocating a theory of hylozoism, that the universe is the sum of all things that exist, is divine and alive. Lastly, another notable claim by Thales is that Earth rests on water. Maybe that was a conclusion after observing fish foils on the land. So हम इससे conclude कर सकते हैं कि जो थेल्स थे उनका जो फाउंडेशन था अ, वो था वाटर। वो कहते थे कि जो भी इस दुनिया में है सब कुछ वाटर से बना हुआ है और वाटर एक ऐसा फंडामेंटल चीज है जिससे हमारी दुनिया में प्रकृति या फिर जीवन पैदा होती है। सो ये भी कहते हैं इन्होंने कॉस्मोस वर्ड भी इस्तेमाल किया फर्स्ट टाइम, और उस कॉस्मोस वर्ड का मीनिंग था और टू डिस्क्राइब द यूनिवर्स। एंड ही आल्सो प्रेडिक्टेड दैट eclipse, and he was also famous for his contribution to geometry, and his philosophy is very important as he is the first philosopher in the West. And he always says that everything is full of God, and he says the sum of all things that exist is divine and alive, and everything in the world that is resting upon water. Maybe that was a conclusion about after observing the fish foils on land. Now we will talk about Anaximander. He was a member of elite of Miletus, wealthy and a statesman. He showed interest in many fields, including mathematics and geography. He drew the first map of the world and was the first to conclude that the earth is spherical and made instruments to mark time and something like a clock. So he was very well known about his drawing about the world as a first map of the world. And always a question comes in UGC NET that who was the philosopher who drew the first map of the world. So the answer will be Anaximander. You have to remember this. He postulated as a first principle an undefined, unlimited substance without qualities, that is, aprion, out of which the primary opposites hot and cold, moist and dry became differentiated. Now, he developed a rudimentary evolutionary explanation for biodiversity in which constant universal power affected the lives of animals. The second major idea of Anaximander is of important for us is his belief that Earth does not rest on vast ocean of water, as Thales held, as many believe it to be true at that time. Instead, he believed that it hangs suspended at the center of the universe. Anaximander had no theory of gravity to explain what holds the Earth at center, but he argues that the force of opposites held it there. So जो एनेक्सीमैंडर थे वो बहुत फेमस थे क्योंकि उन्होंने वर्ल्ड का फर्स्ट मैप बनाया था और उन्होंने इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स भी बनाए थे जिससे हम टाइम को पता कर सकते थे जस्ट लाइक क्लॉक एंड स्टिल वी आर यूजिंग दैट क्लॉक इन आवर डेली लाइफ एंड एक ऐसे फिलोसोफर्स थे इन्होंने कहा था कि जो अर्थ है वो वाटर से नहीं बना हुआ है पूरा और वाटर के ऊपर नहीं रहता है अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम वो कहते हैं कि जो अर्थ है वो टांगा हुआ है यूनिवर्स के बीच में पर उनके पास कोई प्रूफ नहीं था जस्ट लाइक द थियरी ऑफ ग्रेविटी सो उन्होंने बोला कि जो फोर्स ऑफ ऑपोजिट्स होते हैं उनकी वजह से जो अर्थ है वो हैंग हो रखा है यूनिवर्स में now we will go to the next philosopher, that is Anaximenes. So, a third Milesian philosopher, Anaximenes, dismissed the theory of Anaximander and identified the one underlying substance of the cosmos with air. So, he wrote, as our souls, being air, hold us together, so breathe and air embrace the entire universe. So in Anaximenes, though disagreeing with Thales that the water formed the basis of reality, at least agreed with his mentor on one point. The source of all being should not be identified with some vague cosmic entity, poetic entity such as unlimited, which surpasses all understanding. Instead, reality should be identified with something that may be understood with something familiar. So, air is all around us. It is necessary for life to breathe it. It fills the sky and upon it floats the earth. Now we'll see the next point. Anaximenes took for his principle is air. So, conceiving it as a being modified via thickening and thinning into the other classical elements like fire, wind, clouds, water, and earth. Though the Milesians were the first pre-Socratic philosopher, they were not considered as greatest. This honor fell such as that Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Parmenides, and Democritus. So here in Anaximenes' fundamental principle was air, and he says that in earth or in everywhere there is air, and it is necessary to have air because we breathe it and air makes to float the earth and it fills the sky with air. So, air is a fundamental principle according to Anaximenes, and he also says that the cosmos with air is the only one substance or underlying principle according to him. And in the last, it was said that though Milesians were the first pre Socratic philosopher, they were not considered as great and that greatness has to be honored to the philosophers like Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Parmenides, and Democritus. So now we will go on to the next philosopher, that is Pythagoras, and he is very famous philosopher in today's world also. So Pythagoras, between 572 and between 497 BCE, and his followers were a religious sect that practiced a stern ascetic life and believed in the form of reincarnation. They believe that the soul exists before this life and will be reborn again after the death of the human body. Pythagoras stated that number is the ruling self-creating bond, which means Pythagoras stated that number is the ruling self-creating bond which maintains the everlasting stability of a thing that composes the universe. So, according to Pythagoras, the fundamental principle is number. So, Pythagoras also had, wait a minute, guys. Yeah. Pythagoras also had knowledge of geometry. Remember the Pythagorean theorem you studied in your high school? And knew that the numbers can stand for a thing insofar as they express their shape, their size, their volume, and some of their other dimensions, such as mass and location. So here they're trying to say that the Pythagoras theorem you studied in your school, that Pythagoras theorem has been created or invented by this Pythagoras philosopher. Now it appears that he was the first to develop the mathematical proof, a method that allows new theorems to be derived from previously accepted axioms. Mathematics built its system by accepting some statements as true axioms and deriving the truth of other statements from them, theorems according to the rules of valid proofs. You remember, guys, when you were in school, you tried to that solve your Pythagoras theorems, and from there you try to prove the previous statement by applying this that theorem that we studied in our high schools. Now, Pythagoreanism, Pythagoreanism perceived the world as a perfect harmony dependent on number and aimed at inducing humankind likewise to lead a harmonious life, including ritual dietary recommendations. So here Pythagoras also focused upon the harmony that was considered as perfect harmony that also depends on number and aim to make the humankind human life as a harmonious life to for including that of rituals and dietary recommendations in your life. Now we will go on to the next philosopher, that is Heraclitus and becoming. Heraclitus said everything was constantly changing, nothing was permanent. Parmenides, on the other hand, said nothing changed, everything was permanent. So, since much was made by Plato and Aristotle about the degree to which reality was fixed and unchanging, on the one hand, and continually changing on the other, this dispute between two central pre-Socratic about what is called the problem of being and becoming has interested not only in itself but also for its influence on later Greek thinkers and thus on Western thought for the next 2000 years. So, according to Heraclitus, he said that nothing was permanent, and we can relate this philosophy of Heraclitus with that of Buddha, who also says that in this world nothing is permanent, everything has to be considered as temporary. So, here also Heraclitus is saying that nothing was permanent, and on the other hand, Parmenides, who's the another philosopher, he says that said that nothing changed, everything was permanent. So according to him, nothing has to be changed and everything was permanent. And we are going to see this Parmenides later on. So Heraclitus says that everything flows and nothing abides, everything gives new way and nothing stays fixed. So this was his quote and his famous quote. Let's see. So his famous quote and oft quoted remark that you can't step into the same river for the other water and yet others go ever flowing on. So his famous quote is that you can't step in a river twice because the water in a river it flows and flows. So that water can't reside in one place. So it was his that most famous quote that you can't step into the same river for other waters and yet others go every flowing on. Now, Heraclitus is that opposites somehow mirror each other, a doctrine called unity of opposites, that cold things warm up and the hot cools off. Wet becomes dry and dry becomes wet. So he also says that the opposites that has to be considered as unity of opposites, that जो ठंडी चीजें हैं वो गर्म हो जाती हैं, जो गर्म चीजें हैं वो ठंडी हो जाती हैं, जो गीली चीजें हैं वो सूख जाती हैं, जो सूखी चीजें हैं वो गीली हो जाती हैं. So he says that opposite things somehow mirrors each other. The transformation undergone by fire are as follows. First, it becomes the sea, then half of the sea becomes land, while the other half becomes burning wind. Most interpreted of Heraclitus understanding fire in the metaphorical sense rather than material cause. So he says that everything, whatever the changes undergoes in the world, it is depend on fire. So first it becomes the sea. When there was nothing in the world, that so there was a just water, and that has to be considered or related with the sea, and that half of the sea becomes land. So as the time passed away, that sea becomes land, and that while the other half becomes burning wind. So he says that, according to him, the fire is not a metaphorical sense but a material cause. So matter that the fire has to be considered with that material cause. So taking fire metaphorically might cause many difficulties, as Heraclitus himself uses the term logos to refer to the first principle. Understood as such, it means the principle that governs every transformation. It is the law that is inherent in everything. And for Heraclitus, to know the logos means to know the truth. Now we will talk about the Eleatic schools, that the famous philosopher was Parmenides. So now we will going to start with Parmenides. So Parmenides said nothing changes, that everything is permanent, and that everything which is what he called as being. For example, thing changes their location or changes from one sort of thing to another. Wood becomes heat and ashes when burned, or a change a property, that a banana changes color from green to yellow. So from these two examples, he is trying to prove that everything is permanent. For permanent is one, being is one, to be sure. There are no many different sorts of thing, no multiplicity. So all is one and one is all, according to him. Parmenides wrote a hard to interpret poem named On Nature. It tells a story of a young man dedicated to finding the truth, carried by a goddess on a long journey to the heaven. The goddess teaches chorus to use his reasoning to understand whether various claims are true or false. Discarding sense as fallacious, Parmenides' poem are the doctrine that nothing comes from nothing. So in his poem on nature, he is trying to conclude that nothing comes from nothing. Now we will go on to the next philosopher, the pluralist, that is Anaxagoras. So Anaxagoras is known for his theory of everything. He claimed in everything there is a share of everything. Interpretation differs as to what he meant. Anaxagoras was trying to stay true to the Eleatic principle of the everlasting what is, while also explaining the diversity of the natural world. So, Anaxagoras accepted Parmenides' doctrine that everything that exists has existed forever. But contrary to Eleatic, he added the idea of panspermia and nous. All objects were a mixture of various elements such as air, water, and others. One special element was nous, according to him, Anaxagoras, which is present in living thing and causes motion. So nous is a thing or a mind which is present in every living thing that makes motion, and that is to be considered as a cause of motion. So now consider building block of the cosmos, but it exists only in living objects. Anaxagoras writes, in everything there is a portion of everything except mind now and there, but there are some things in which mind too is present. So nous was not just an element of thing, somehow it was the cause of setting the universe into motion. So now we will go on to the next philosopher, atomists. Democritus is usually classified as pre-Socratic philosopher, but he was actually a contemporary of Socrates. He agreed with Parmenides that there is an ultimate reality that is not visible to senses, and also agreed that it possesses the properties of being eternal, indestructible, and indivisible. This ultimate reality he called atoms, and his very modern sounding view is called atomism. For Democritus, the material object evident to our senses were all composed of atoms, each of possessed the Parmenidean properties of being. They were eternal, uncreated entities. They could never be destroyed, only recombined in a different manner. Material objects for Democritus constantly give off atoms, and these atoms, upon striking the sense organ, work their way into the soul and somehow form an internal image of the external object. Unfortunately, our senses give us no accurate information about the deeper structure of reality. The inner representation that we form corresponds to no real qualities of atoms or collection of atoms. Our sensory experience are merely the way that the real world of atoms appears to us. In particular, all colors, sounds, odor, taste, and smell that we experience exist in our minds. So, according to Democritus, the fundamental principle was atoms. So everything in this world that has to be considered as ultimate reality is made up of atom, and he called it as a atomism. So he says that the color, sound, odor, taste, and smell that we experience, it exists only in our mind. So now we will go on to the UGC NET GRF previous year questions. So these questions are very important. You have to go through these questions to know that which type of questions come in UGC NET, so you will have the idea. So the first question is, which pre-Socratic philosopher is known for his doctrine of flux, stating that everything is in constant change? Option A, Parmenides. Option B, Heraclitus. Option C, Anaxagoras. Option D, Zeno. So after every question, I will give you 3 seconds to choose your answer. So the right answer is option number A, Parmenides. Now we will go on to the question number 2. What did Parmenides argue about the nature of being? Option A, change is the fundamental nature of reality. Option B, only what is can be thought and spoken of. Option C, the material world is an illusion. Option D, the cosmos is made up of numbers. The right answer is option number B. Only what is can be thought and spoken of. Question number 3. Anaximander is known for proposing which of the following concepts? Option A, the theory of forms. Option B, the boundless aprion as the origin of all things. Option C, the principle of non-contradiction. Option D, the idea of atom. Right answer is option number B, the boundless aprion as the origin of all things. Now we'll go on to the question number 4. Which philosopher is associated with the idea that the greatest number is the essence of all things? Option A, Thales. Option B, Pythagoras. Option C, Anaximenes. Option D, Democritus. The right answer will be option number B, Pythagoras. Now, question number 5. Zeno of Elea is best known for his paradoxes that challenge the concept of option A, time, option B, matter, option C, motion, option D, space. Right answer is option number C, motion. Now, we'll go on to the question number 6. Who proposed the idea that the universe is made of individual particles called atoms? Option A, Parmenides. Option B, Thales. Option D, C, that is Heraclitus. Option D, Democritus. So here they are talking about atoms, so the answer will be option number D, Democritus. Question number 7. Which pre-Socratic philosopher argued that all is one and rejected the existence of plurality and change? Option A, Anaxagoras. Option B, Parmenides. Option C, Heraclitus. Option D, Zeno. Right answer is option number B, Parmenides. Now question number 8. The concept aprion, which refers to the infinite and boundless, was primarily associated with which philosopher? Option A. Thales, option B. Anaximander, option C. Empedocles, option D. Democritus. The right answer is option number B. Anaximander. Now question number 9. What was the main contribution of Heraclitus regarding the nature of reality? Option A. The stability of being. Option B. The concept of static cosmos. Option C. The unity of opposites and the idea that strife injustice. Option D. The numerical basis of reality. So the right answer is option number C. The unity of opposites and the idea that strife injustice. Now question number 10. Who is known for his work on nature, which explores metaphysical ideas about the being and non-being? Option A. Anaximenes, option B. Parmenides, option C. Zeno, option D. Pythagoras. Right answer is option number B. Parmenides. Now question number 11. Which philosopher believed that the primary substance of the universe was air? Option A. Thales, option B. Anaximander, option C. Anaximenes, option D. Empedocles. Right answer is option number C. Anaximenes. Now I'll go into the question number 12. What philosophical stance did the Eleatic school founded by Parmenides primarily advocated? Option A. Pluralism, option B. Monoism, option C. Atomism, option D. Skepticism. Right answer is option number B. Monoism. Now I'll go into the question number 13. The paradoxes of motion proposed by Zeno were primarily aimed at refuting which philosopher's view? Option A. Heraclitus, option B. Empedocles, option C. Pythagoras, option D. Anaxagoras. The right answer is option number A. Heraclitus. Now question number 14. Which pre-Socratic philosopher is known for the doctrine that the reality is fundamentally mathematical? Option A. Thales, option B. Pythagoras, option C. Democritus, option D. Anaximander. The right answer is option number B. Pythagoras. Now question number 15. What was the major claim made by Democritus regarding the nature of reality? Option A. The reality is an illusion created by the senses. Option B. The universe consists of empty space and individual particles, atoms. Option C. The change is an inherent quality of existence. Option D. Everything is composed of four elements. So the right answer is option number B. The universe consists of empty space and individual particles, that is, atoms. Now question number 16. Who proposed a cosmology that included a mixture of four elements governed by love and strife? Option A. Anaximander, option B. Empedocles, option C. Thales, option D. Zeno. The right answer is Empedocles. Now question number 17. In which philosophical text does Parmenides articulate his view on being and nature of reality? Option A. The Timaeus, option B. The Republic, option C. On nature, option D. The Physics. Right answer is option number C. On nature. Now question number 18. What did Pythagoras believe about the relationship between numbers and reality? Option A. Numbers and arbitrary symbols without meaning. Option B. Numbers govern the structure of the cosmos and the harmony of existence. Option C. Reality is a mere illusion and has no mathematical basis. Option D. Numbers are only relevant in mathematics, not in philosophy. The right answer is option number B. Numbers govern the structure of the cosmos and harmony of existence. Now we'll go on to the question number 19. Which of the following best describe Anaximander's view of the cosmos? Option A. The cosmos is composed of solely of water. Option B. The cosmos is governed by a rational principle logos. Option C. The cosmos evolves from a chaotic mixture of elements. Option D. The cosmos is static and unchanging. The right answer is option number C. The cosmos evolves from a chaotic mixture of elements. Now question number 20. This question is last question for this session. Heraclitus is famous for his assertion that all is flux. What does this imply about his view of reality? Option A. Reality is fundamentally stable and unchanging. Option B. Change is an illusion created by human perception. Option C. The essence of existence is perpetual change and conflict. Option D. Reality is divided into fixed categories. The right answer is option number C. The essence of existence is perpetual change and conflict. Thank you everyone for watching my channel. If you feel that this video is helpful for you, please do subscribe, like and comment. Do not forget to press the bell icon for getting new videos. Bye bye everyone.